Hey everyone, my name is Penny Zanker, and it's time to reset. This podcast goes beyond just navigating change. It's about new ways of thinking about how you can approach challenges, how you can shift your mindset when needed, create some space and grace for yourself so that you can rethink, recharge, and reprioritize when and where needed. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Thank you for hitting play and sharing this next episode with me. It's time to reset. Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zanker and I'm your host. And today we're talking about something important that helps you to better utilize your time, and it's getting unstuck. We all get stuck. We're all there from time to time. And the best thing that we can do is have methods and techniques that help us to get unstuck quicker, right? I'm excited today to talk to Natalyn Lewis about that. She is an expert in this space. She is a speaker and a coach and has spoken on stages in over 38 countries around the world with 200 different companies, CEOs, executive teams. And for the last 4 years, she's dedicated time to educating high achievers on the power of their emotions, that they don't need to be afraid of them, but they can understand them, control them, and use them to build true, lasting success, both in their business and in their home life. She also works in prisons every week, helping people to find their true identities, which really can change their habits, behaviors, and of course, their lives. And she started a company called Ascend EQ that provides coaching and digital courses to help people to level up and become the best version of themselves. I know we're going to be fast friends because I'm all about all of those things that you talked about. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Wow, where do I start there? So many things in your intro that were interesting that I want to pick apart. Maybe I'll start with, how did you get involved working with prisons?
Yeah, great question. I had been doing this sort of work for years, actually, and had been speaking around the world at this point in topics of really focusing on identity, patterns, behavior, motivation. Like, how do you bring up the unstuck process? How do we motivate ourselves beyond that place where we're like just stuck? And we had been working on this and actually got approached by an organization that said, could the things that you're teaching work in prison? I don't even know anyone in the incarcerated community. And so we spent time and inside of our organization and with our group of people, we went out and reached out to over 1,000 inmates and their families to determine what was needed. And at the end of the day, we said, yeah, this is going to work because they're humans and this works for any human. And they allowed us to come in and try it. And we've had tremendous success in some of the ways that they were really looking for, like behavioral issues that have been adjusted, or people coming off of anxiety or depression medication, or seeing that they get out and they don't go back, right? Addressing recidivism. And so with impact to those key statistics, they've had us continue our work. And now we get to go in. We work with over 700 people right now. And it's just been an amazing experience.
That's fantastic. I mean, we're humans. And I would guess that people who are incarcerated, that there are patterns of behavior that have been repeated, and some of them maybe because of horrific conditions that they lived in and how that affected their identity. And I can imagine that it's going to work for them. It's going to work for anyone, right?
Yeah. Take an individual who was told their entire lives, like so many of these people, their parents were inmates. Imagine your entire life growing up where people, they lack sensitivity. Sometimes they're talking to a little boy and they say, oh, your dad's a bum. Your dad's a no good. Your dad's a screw up. Your dad's an inmate. Your dad's a liar. Right. And you're just like him. Right. And they heard this all growing up. They're a liar and a bum and a screw up and an inmate. And that's what they truly start to believe about themselves. How are they going to behave?
Yeah.
And once they behave and act the part, then they feel like it, they believe it, they see themselves as that, and that is the future they produce for themselves, and they end up following in their exact footprints. Yeah. And you said, we're not unlike that. We've been told our whole lives things about ourselves that some of us have chosen to believe as well. And when we take on that identity, we end up acting the part until that's the future we create for ourselves.
Yeah, sometimes absolutely.
Good and sometimes bad.
I'm just thinking, like, I think back to my own like self-talk and things. Like, for a long time, I thought I just wasn't creative and I just wasn't smart. Like, my brothers were smart. They did great on they were test takers. They did great on their SATs. I like tanked mine. And so that left me feeling less than. It wasn't until years later that I was like, well, I'm creative in a different way. Just because I can't take and draw something or make beautiful art like my brother used to be able to draw, and he was really great at that. My other brother was a musician, and I didn't have any of that. But I later found that my creativity comes out in different ways, and I was able to recognize it, accept it, and embrace it. How do you turn that on faster? Like I talk about, and my new book is coming out on the reset mindset. And the whole concept is, how do we learn faster? How do we shorten these learning cycles? We don't have to pay the prices. We don't have to work as hard or be as persistent because we can learn faster.
Yeah.
That was a really long way to ask that question, but
it's an excellent question because people spend so much time spinning their wheels. And the answer, I believe, to how we do this faster starts with understanding, and it starts with learning first. We tend as a society to attack behavior. I don't like getting up in the morning, so I'm going to attack that. I'm going to force myself to wake up. I'm going to set 4 alarms. I'm going to set one of them here and one of them here and one of them here until I literally drive myself crazy trying to pull myself out of bed in the morning. And ultimately I give up and I go back to sleeping in and I declare I am not a morning person. And I claim that ownership. But the thing, what we never did to start with was understand, why do you not like getting out of bed in the morning? Because if you started with understanding instead of the behavior, what would you learn? What's the picture you hold of getting out of bed in the morning? Well, I know people who hold the picture of like, oh, I'm so tired and it's groggy and I've got this thing going on and I'm cold. Who does want to wake up if that's the picture? If we could understand that the reason why we don't want to get out of bed is because the picture of what it looks like to wake up is really unappealing and unattractive, and frankly, nobody wants that. Well, then we could, instead of trying to set 4 alarms and force our body out of bed, we could change the picture. And if we just understand, if we would approach things with understanding first, that we could shift belief, our behaviors would change naturally. Instead of forcing myself out of bed, I first understand why I don't like to get out of bed, which then allows me to change my belief, because the reality is, I bet you don't mind getting out of bed on Christmas morning. What's the picture? I bet you don't mind getting out of bed on one of the most exciting days of your life where you get to go and do the thing you've been waiting for the very most. Why? Wasn't it hard for you to get out of bed? Because I got news for you. If you're not a morning person and that's who you truly are, none of those days should matter. So why are they different? Oh, you mean the picture was different and you believed something different was going to happen that day, so you behaved differently? Therefore, if we understand that, we could always change the picture and change the belief. And it would be fun and exciting to get out of bed in the morning. And we could claim different. I think the way we do things faster, the way we approach and develop and quicker move through our life, is stop attacking the behavior and start with understanding, shift the belief, and allow your behavioral modifications to become a part of who you are, and not just attacking behavior as if that's going to solve every problem.
I did a TEDx called The Energy of Thought. So that's why I said we're going to get along famously, because I believe that as well, is that we're so focused on the behavior, but actually that's not where it starts, right? That's not where we have the most control and the easiest path. How does one understand and get connected with this? Typically, we understand the behavior, we less understand how to work with our thoughts. You talked about the understanding. Maybe there's another example or a step that you can give us as to how people could go about, in my words, managing the energy of their thought and changing that picture.
Yeah. I think the things that changed for me the very most was when I learned like just super simple physiology of the brain, right? Dan Siegel did a really, really beautiful breakdown of the brain where he used the hand and he said, if your hand was your brain, let's learn a couple parts. Fingers are the prefrontal cortex where we have logic and reason. Hippocampus is where we store pictures, and amygdala is where we have sensory experience, emotions, and it's where we feel things, right? Just understanding the basic construct of the brain helps us so much, because we need to realize how important the picture we hold in our mind is, how it affects everything. And as soon as I understood the basic construct of the brain with something that simple, I was able all of a sudden to say, wow, the pictures I hold in my head, they affect my emotions, they affect my behavior, they affect my actions. They affect my ability to logic and reason through something versus getting really emotionally responsive to something. Then what do I need to do to control this picture? And there's so many tools for controlling pictures, and we've heard about them forever. Visualization. writing, taking an opportunity to write things in the present tense and create a picture that sits there that our brain gets to work with. I think basic understanding of emotional intelligence and the brain and how it works. I never wanted to get into that stuff, right? Because it was like, no, that's super geeky. Just tell me how to get where I want to get to. No, I don't need to know all of the background. I just want like just tell me what to do. And I think we live in a society where everybody just wants us to tell them what to do, which is attacking a behavior. And the more people step back and just understand the basics. I'm not talking about becoming a neuroscientist. I'm not talking about deep diving into 1,000-page books about the brain. I'm saying have some basic understanding of what's actually happening upstairs. That when you visualize, you know why in the heck you're doing it. When you get out of bed early, you know why that actually matters. When you function in a pattern or routine, you actually understand why that will create success. You're not just doing it because somebody said they did it and they got success for it. That's the key, is allowing ourselves to basic understanding of why we're doing what we're doing, as opposed to just following the herds, addressing behavior, and never understanding the beliefs then and the emotions and the pictures that are truly driving us in our life.
You made me think of something when you said we just want to be told what to do. And I think that is human nature. I'm wondering, with where we're headed in the future, with AI being able to handle so many different tasks for us, I feel like we're going to become more complacent, more apathetic, and even more in the place where we're going to allow others and technology to tell us what to do and how to do it. Do you see that as well? Like, what do you see as the biggest risks for us going forward, and how do we address that?
I could not agree with you more. And I get the opportunity to work a lot with youth, teenagers, and I have witnessed this with every emerging technology. Our teens get a little less emotionally intelligent and a little less emotionally resilient. And I think that happens because they don't have to be pushed. I want you to think about it. When there was no Google, when I was in college, like dispels the age, right? But when I was in college, I didn't even have a cell phone. And your car gets stuck and you're somewhere and you don't have a phone and you don't have Google to ask how to fix it. What did you do? Like, you figured it out. Like, you got creative. You went to your brain, you dug around in the glove compartment, you read the manual, you figured out where you were at compared to the nearest location. Like, you figured it out. But now everything is handed to us on a platter. Google it, call somebody, ask, drop a pin, have somebody come to your rescue. At what point, and if with AI, you don't even have to write your own papers anymore. How are you going to figure it out? And with that brain, just like pushing our brain to like, take a step forward, get creative, think through something, logic through something, push yourself to think. Without the need to do that, how does the brain respond when it's put to the test? They get emotional, so much stress and anxiety off the chains. And
so because they have less problem solving practice, let's call it, right? And less chance to really activate creativity and that kind of thing, that creates more quickly anxiety when they're put in a position where they actually have to do that.
They have more stimulation than any generation in the history of time. They have more data, information passing their brain than anyone in time. But what do they do with it? They just take it in. Like, I passed by a kid the other day, sitting on a couch. He had a phone in his hand. He had a game that he was playing. There was a television on in the corner. It was like the amount of stimulation crossing his brain, extraordinary. But now ask the kid to go solve a problem. We have to deep think, not scroll, not like, not text. Think of how every piece of technology makes it so easy to just do something. But what if you have to deep problem solve? What if something really comes at you and you have to answer big questions in life? These kids, the anxiety they experience goes off the chain because it's super uncomfortable for their brain to go into those deeper spaces, and it's uncomfortable for them. And because it's uncomfortable, their body responds physiologically. They experience some anxiety. And then as a society, we've painted this picture of anxiety, and now they have anxiety about being anxious.
Yeah, that is something that happens with anxiety, right? Is anxious about being anxious.
Yes. And
my son had anxiety very badly.
Oh, yeah. And it just skyrockets. And I really do believe that a big piece of that is they are not put under the same types of pressure mentally and physically, frankly, that older generations were. As often, they are faced with substantially greater stimulus, but not at the deep level of actually reasoning through it, pushing through it, and understanding it.
How do we deal with that? I mean, I know we're heading in a slightly different direction where we started. We'll come back. But just your initial thoughts on what are some solutions?
Yeah. Well, a big piece for me as I work with teens is I work with them to provide tools that they problem solve for themselves and stay with them in the really uncomfortable, the part that feels unsafe for them about making those decisions and let them make the decisions. Like walk beside them, guide them, as opposed to tell them, direct them. Once they get comfortable with their capacity in that space, and once they understand, again, it comes back to understanding. So many of them don't understand what anxiety is. And so what they know is I have a thought, and then all of a sudden my heart race is out of control and I start getting sweaty and then I can't breathe and my toes tingle if something's happening to me and I can't control it. And the physiology and the fact that they don't understand that thought is wired to physiology and you are having a physical response to thoughts and pictures. The second that they understand that, you should see they're so capable when they get understanding to shift belief and calm that down. I watch these teenagers change their emotional life in weeks where it takes adults months and months because they have so much longer patterns.
Right.
The
They're
second
more ingrained,
teenagers
right?
understand, they really are brilliant. When we engage their minds intentionally with some understanding, and then they start to figure it out, put the pieces together, they become fascinatingly capable human beings. And we just need to give them opportunity to understand something at a deeper level, let them experience it in a place that's safe for them, let them understand the connections, and let them make hard decisions for themselves while we're there guiding, but not doing it for them. They don't get to have the easy button. There's no part to like this one. There is a grind it out in your mind and figure it out and get uncomfortable physically. And it's okay. You're uncomfortable physically because you don't know what to do. And that's uncomfortable and it's unknown and it's okay. Push through that. It's okay to feel that way and find the other side. They don't even understand that that's acceptable because they've created so much fear about that unknown, uncomfortable feeling as anxiety. And society has painted that picture that they all believe they're mental health cases when they feel it, as opposed to feeling like understanding that as human beings, life's uncomfortable and unfamiliar and unknown sometimes. And we all feel a little unrest in those moments. And it's okay.
Right. It's just about how we manage through those times, right? And
Yeah.
I find that in some of the most difficult times in my life, there's like this eye in the storm. Like it just feel okay. Like I'm going to be okay, right?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
find that, find the eye
Yeah.
of the storm, and then you can make it through. You know that there's
Yes.
light.
I love that. We like to call that being amongst the chaos and not consumed by it. Life is not going to just calm down and never give you any trials or problems
Right.
or challenges. And when you can find yourself, figure out who you are, understand that it's okay to feel a little uncomfortable sometimes, you do find that eye of the storm. You do find the peace in that space where you can be among the chaos of life and not consumed by it. And it can turn into a really beautiful thing for you.
I was surprised when I was there. And I think it's that place. I don't like this word, but it's the place of surrender. Not a fan of the word for a number of different reasons, but because it feels just saying it has like a powerless. And I
Yeah.
think it's just the opposite.
Mhm.
It's so powerful. It's that ability to let go of the things that you can't control and be really clear about the things that you can. That's what my experience has told me through those, what did you say, living within the chaos, right?
Being among the chaos and not
Among
consumed.
the chaos.
Yeah. Oh, I'm with you on the word surrender. That has never been one of my favorite words either. And I agree with you. It's powerful when used properly. And there's a feeling of it's so hard to let go. And when we can let go of what we don't control, it's super powerful.
Right. And I kind of think that is our life lesson
Yeah.
in general, right? Is that we're constantly being, all the challenges of our lives are that struggle. In the tagline of my first book, it's stop the tug of war with time. And I realized, what is our issue? We have a tug of war with our health, with our finances, with our, right, in every area. And then I looked up the definition and it's a struggle for control. And I was like, it's like the piece that I understood now. That's it, is that we are constantly trying to dance with what we can control and what we can't.
Well, and I think that leads us right back to the discussion of anxiety, because most people, coming back to that picture in their head, what's the picture? If we start with one thing and it's like, oh my gosh, I forgot to pick up the groceries. Oh my gosh, now we're going to be late for dinner. We're late for dinner. He's going to come home from practice. There's not going to be dinner. Then he's going to have to go to practice hungry. And oh my gosh, you know what else was at the store that I forgot to pick up? I forgot to pick up my dry cleaning. And now I have to leave town tomorrow and I don't have my dry cleaning. And we squirrel. And they're all things that at that moment, we don't have any control over. We just need to find one thing to focus and act on, and we could calm all that down. But all of that starts to get the rapid heart rate, and here comes the breathing, and then we're anxious about life. And it's usually because we're totally dialed into 100 things that we don't control, that we think might be outcomes to an action we did or didn't take.
Absolutely. I love that. I've been asking every guest in celebration of my new book that's coming out, The Reset Mindset. Yeah. I know you don't know anything about it, but in your thoughts about what it could mean, how do you feel that the Reset Mindset supports the work that you do, helping people to get unstuck? And why is that important?
I think everyone needs a reset. I mean, across the board, because we tend to have life happening to us and we're not happening to life. And we need to take a deep breath, have a good quality reset. And then we need to decide what we're trying to create in life and go create it on purpose and happen to life instead of sitting and just reacting and having life happen to us all the time. And I think that's almost impossible to do without a reset, to just stop for a minute, reset, reframe, remember who you really are, not all the crappy labels or identities you may have taken on over time, and just reset, reframe, remember who you are, and like go build something on purpose, go happen to life, go create something beautiful. I think that construct of like resetting and having a reset mindset, I think between resetting the mind, which usually resets the emotion, which allows us to actually reset behavior, I think it is the absolute necessity of everyone. If they want to achieve something great, they got to start doing to life instead of just sitting back and taking it. And I think that has to start with a reset.
Absolutely. I love some of the way that you've defined. That's why I like to ask people, because I learn how other people see it. Something that I know there's been a lot of thoughts and controversy around what comes first, that people feel like emotions come first. In the last couple minutes, I just wanted to address that people listening understand again in maybe even a different way. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes we hear things in a lot of different ways and it helps to like cement it. Why is it that you believe that it's the picture and the thoughts that drive the emotion that change the behavior? Maybe you can just give us that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's a great quote that says, neurons that fire together wire together. And when you think about it, requires a thought or a picture. The amygdala is responsible for emotion, and it doesn't just do it automatically for no reason. It's tapping on a picture. And that's where that emotion starts to stem from. And that picture could be real or imagined. And that's what's so important. We have one of those near miss experiences. Think of how long we think about that near miss experience, and we create all these endings that didn't happen. Next thing you know, we're feeling all anxious. Mm-hmm. Anxiety didn't pop up out of nowhere. It came in attachment to that picture. The picture happens, and then we feel the emotion, and then we behave accordingly. Now, the thing is, the reality of the situation is, once that we've done that multiple times, they fire together, they wire together, and now they can come in any order. We feel a little bit of something, we'll flash into that picture, and we'll drive into that behavior. We start behaving this way, we'll feel this way, and we'll think this way. It starts with the picture because the thought produces the emotion, which creates the action. But once they've wired together, it can come in any order is the truth. The reality is we have to be aware and understand what in the heaven's name is happening and how all of it's connected. There is you can't say we're mental creatures or we're emotional creatures or we're physical creatures. We are mental, emotional, physical creatures all in one. And we need to understand how those worlds are playing together.
How they work together.
Yes. Yeah. And we need to let them work together. Yep. And not be afraid of them working together.
I do think, like you said, it's understanding. And I wonder if I might offer the audience also another word. You use the word picture a lot, which I really like, and it's simple. And I want to make sure that people understand some other words that might be used for that. Tell me if I'm interpreting this correctly or if the way that I understand. The picture is the meaning that we give something. Yep. We create a picture, which is the meaning, and that meaning then triggers how we feel about it and then triggers the behavior. So does that work for you as well?
Yeah, you can definitely apply meaning. It's also super simple as picture. Like it usually associates meaning. Like, well, actually 100% of the time pictures associate meaning, right? Like think about, I just had a client I worked with today, and he had a near miss experience in a car accident. And he came in and he had a full on panic attack after. And what was interesting is I said, okay, what was the picture? And he was just like, what if that car would have hit me? What about my wife? What about my kids? Well, what was happening was the picture, he was creating an entire storyline of the ending that could have been. And that had deep meaning. And his family would be alone. It meant he would die. It meant that he would, and it was because had looked at his cell phone, so he screwed it up. So think of all of the meaning associated with that. And here comes all the emotion. And it was attached to something that didn't even happen. But our brain doesn't delineate between real or imagined, right? If it's there, it's there. And it is picture and meaning, really.
Totally. Awesome. Well, tell people where they can find out more information about you and the work that you do.
Yes, people can find us at ascendiq.com, or I'm on Instagram as well, Natty. Most people call me Natty, even though my name's Natalyn. And it's natty.o.lewis on Instagram. And you can find us there. And we have courses and we have work that we have done. The work that we do in prison, we tell stories about there as well. So it's fun.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you all for being here. We make life sometimes so much more complex than it needs to be. Getting unstuck, as we heard from Natty, was just about really understanding how our thoughts, our feelings and emotions and our behaviors are connected, and starting in the right place and understanding the pictures that we are creating, the meaning that we're creating that drives all of that. Wow, right? We have the potential to get unstuck very quickly when we understand what's going on. I hope that you're going to be looking at your challenges differently and that you be able to use some of the techniques that were talked about here. And go check out Natty's stuff. I'm sure there's a whole host of other great resources that are available to you. Thanks for being here. My name is Penny Zanker, and this is Take Back Time. We'll see you in the next episode. Hey, thank you for spending this time with me. It really means a lot. If you're feeling a little off, distracted, overwhelmed, stuck, or just out of sync, remember that's your signal to reset. And that's all it takes, just recognizing one reset moment at a time. So stay tuned for more tips, tools, tricks, stories, strategies, all here on Time to Reset. We'll see you in the next episode.